going on, guys and girls? It's the Short Bear, and welcome to this new trade and market recap. Today I traded two stocks, one being YUMA and the second one being SAEX. We're going to go over every single trade, what my thought process was, and how I traded it according to my plan. So the first one is YUMA. YUMA is a really particular stock. YUMA doesn't have any kind of direct dilution that we are usually looking for, like an ATM or warrants, but it had and it has convertible notes. Um, the thing is, it can't really use those convertible notes, or it didn't use the convertible notes as we usually look for, so not in an aggressive way. They will be looking to restructure their debt, which will, in fact, change the way that the convertibles will be traded. And this is what I'm looking for the short. So for me, YUMA wasn't a short right now. It still needs to kind of restructure the debt before I really want to attack. And I thought they might set it up that way, that they really would rip it up as high as they can for insiders to kind of start unloading before the market and before YUMA restructures the debt, because that will lead the price kind of falling down. If you want an idea of what I think will happen, I'm going to show you CEI. All right, CEI has the pretty much the same preferred stock kind of situation that I will be looking for once the restructuring will happen. So on CEI, we got that massive rip from $2 to $8, gap down, and from there on fading because of those preferred stock shares. And as you can see, CI pretty much never recovered ever. It never traded here at 2.5 million. It's just because they always have to do reverse stock split to stay listed on the Nasdaq. So this is exactly what I'm looking for on YUMA, right? But it's not the time. The time isn't right now for me, because the depth is still the same, and they still need for me to restructure the depth before I can really attack it. So going from there, I was looking at the daily chart, right, and I'm seeing, all right, it can run. We've seen this ticker, we know this ticker from the previous days, and it can run, right? So we had some moves from $1 towards 8, and back down, and then back to 6, comes down, and then it moves to 5, so it can spike, right? We know that. But the thing is, the more we start running and bagging longs, the more bag holders we have, and the more it's likely to fade, because every single time it gaps up now, we've got all those longs that we bagged the previous runs that are trying to exit the stock. So looking at it this morning, what I saw was, we had a pretty big move on this day, on the 11th, where we ran the whole day. We traded it, and I had a big, a normal short, right, a nice position in the fives, all right, 560, 460, I think, was my average, and then I covered pretty much at the bottom at 293. I think that's where I covered everything, and didn't trade it from there. But what I was seeing is, all right, so we've got volume, right? We've got kind of this area right here. Second, right in here, that has some volume, all right? So every single long in here was bagged, every single long wants out, all right? But it's not only the longs, right? So we've got all those shorts thinking, all right, the preferred stock, and so on and so on. It's going to fade back to 0, so I'm going to hold it, right? So the second day, same thing, we start running just a bit, and then we fade back down. But as you can see, we never make it on this 280 level. So we start holding. Someone is kind of soaking in here, right, every single bid, just around 3. So that's the first thing I'm seeing, right? So from there, I'm thinking, all right, the locates on this one during the last run wasn't really the best, right? So the locate situation is one problem for the long side, because if nobody's there to get squeezed and nobody's short in here, then we're maybe not going to see a run. But for me, there were enough shorts. So for me personally, I had locates. So what I was looking at is some kind of short squeeze, right? So everyone thinking this is going completely to crash down, and thinking, right, dilution. So This morning we kind of got up. As you know, YUMA is an energy stock, right? It's in the oil and gas business, and we had some news because of Saudi Arabia with the whole bombing situation, Iran and the US, and every single energy and oil stock this morning was gapping up because of that news. So once I saw that, I was looking at every single stock that we saw, and I saw YUMA gap up. So my thought process automatically went to, all right, we've got some shorts back from the previous run, or actually, we were trading in that range under it, but I was thinking if we get over that $5 mark, we've got pretty much no other short, all right, we've got nothing else, we've got pretty much no long bag from the previous weeks, and I'm thinking this might actually trap some shorts if we get over that area, which we saw after. I'm going to show you that just after. But it's not only that, right? It's also the whole oil business, attracts a whole other crowd. So you've got all the big institutions, you've got the big traders and so on looking at the gap scanner and looking at the oil and energy sector, which has been moving. And Huma is the #1 stock moving. So every single trader, every single investor, and so on is looking at what is moving. So this tells me we are pretty much going to do some big volume on this one today. That was my thought process. We might see some other buyers, some other players on this one, which makes this one kind of completely different to the other ones. And that's also what we saw during the day and the action in general. One never really behaved that way before. I mean, we still got, the afternoon kind of dump, but we didn't see the kind of dumps we saw in the past. We didn't build the range that we usually do. We didn't spike at the open, which we usually do, and so on and so on. So there's a lot going on that we have never seen before. But what I saw this morning was, all right, we traded in the range. So as you can see on the 5 minute, right here, we are looking at the trend line, basically the top of that range. So over that line, every single short is back, right? So first of all, we start moving, on some smaller volume, and then we start, breaking over that resistance area from where the shorts were in. And as you can see, pretty wild move there. So every single short gets squeezed, and we squeeze up really hard into the 650s and finally to 7. So the first thing I was seeing was I was looking at the tape the whole time and I didn't see any big seller, right? I don't see any kind of dilution going on. I don't see big sellers. So my thought process was they're going to try to push it as high as they can pre-market, right? So that was my third thought process. So I'm seeing this pretty much at the resistance. I'm thinking this got really parabolic. We might see some continuation. So I started longing just a bit, thinking, all right, I'm going to start in. If we kind of break, the better. And if we kind of get down, start accumulating, I'm going to add some more, which we got. All right, we came down, broke under 650, but right away saw some big buyers coming in, buying up all the offers. So I got in some more here. But as you can see, it didn't really, so I wanted a curl right away, all right, off the 650, kind of building this triangle formation, but we didn't see it. We didn't see it. We came back down, so I covered it. I sold my position. I sold my long right away, thinking, all right, I still got time, right? I entered full size. I wanted, a nice trade. I mean, a nice risk reward that I got through that trade, and I just exited it for a small, pretty much break-even trade, a small loser, right? That was the first trade. After that, I was thinking, I've got time, all right, I've got the whole day to build a short. I'm going to see how it reacts to the open. So we got the open week, all right. I didn't locate anything because I didn't want to really short it. I wanted to short once the depth structure has been changed, and I didn't want to really jump in front of a train. This is moving nicely. We are trapping some shorts. We're seeing some short squeezes. We've seen short squeezes on other tickers like Fran the last week. Not saying this is the same as Fran, right? But I'm saying this market can usually squeeze. And regarding the time we are in right now, this month in September, usually we start seeing some runners into December. So this morning, seeing that, saw this kind of pop on lower volume. So as you can see, right here, we see some bigger volume at the open, and then on the dump, we don't see much volume, but even on this reclaim, we don't see a lot of volume, all right? We don't see a lot of buying, we don't see some kind of real short squeeze, and that is because we didn't have many locates again today. We crashed back down, all right, right away, so I wanted to enter right here short, but I didn't have any locate, so I wasn't even mad about that because I just didn't locate in time. And then we got back down, but I was thinking, all right, we might see some kind of long opportunity here, right? So some kind of curl, we see some new buyers, the new players we were just talking about, and a curl back towards the open. So the area I was interested in was, again, that $5 mark, right? So the previous resistance becomes now support. Got all those shorts trying to break even and buying the offers and trying to cover here. So this is gonna help the stock move up and even in. And the best thing is if we got really the buyers I was looking for, we were about to move up. So I started shorting right here as we kind of got overextended, all right, and we didn't see much volume coming in. So right here started to build a short, risking pretty much $5, which was right here, right? All right, so I started longing here, and then we got an instant dump towards 5, but as I said, $5 was my stop, and I was even okay letting it test once or twice under 5 to see some buyers and some strength. So right away, the thing is, we didn't see a lot of buying. What we saw was we had a lot of big bids, so 10K, 20K, and so on, kind of stacking up, moving up as the stock moved up. But we saw so much selling, all right, on the ask, hidden, absorbing 10,000s of shares, and we couldn't really make it. So we over 20 was a struggle, and then 24 kind of absorbed. So as soon as we kind of moved up, all right, I started selling, and I sold all at 34, if I remember correctly, all right. So right here into the spike. So first trade of the day on YUMA after the open on some bigger size. Regarding comparing it to the pre-market action, and yeah, closed it right away. As you can see, crashed back down, and then I left it alone. So what I wanted to see from there is how is the tape reacting, how are the sellers, do we see some continuation volume and so on and so on. And what I started seeing, right, is we started seeing kind of a trend line form, right? So we got this trend line here kind of building, and we're seeing near the VWAP, so we have two VWAPs, right? So the one starting from the open and one from pre-market. But what I saw was pretty much we're trading in this range, right? And we're seeing some more buyers buying it up, buying it up, buying it up, buying it up right here over and over again. We tried breaking down here, reclaimed right away. So I'm seeing something form, right? And I'm thinking, I still got this idea of, right, the depth structure is still the same, right? The depth structure is still the same. We are over the area of previous resistance. We've got some shorts trapped, despite the low shorts that, and so the low case situation. But from there, we tried VWAP and we got over it, and I didn't see much sellers. Again, I'm not seeing. Usually on a short, what I want to see is some panic up from shorts and then heaviness, super heavy over VWAP, can't hold it, absorbing on the ask and so on, but I was seeing some absorbing on the bid, refreshing buyers and so on and so on. So started in right here, longing, and I added right here at the 550 mark, all right, for the test, and I was risking 540. Why 440? 540 because it was pretty much the area that got tested again and again right here, again and again. And we saw some absorbing at 40. So we had my stop, a few cents below that. We even tested it here, but once we kind of, started expecting that level, I added some more. We got the pop overview up right away. So the first time we didn't see any kind of panic, but the second time we got some volume coming in, right? So 160K, and the next one with nearly 200,000. So my thought process from here is we're really not that far from the open, right? We are pretty much, 50 cent or 25 cent from the open. I'm thinking curl and move towards $8 or at least $7 for a test at of the open. So My plan was a bit more thinking, all right, they're going to use this kind of idea of the preferred stock, and before they start changing the depth structure, they're going to start, pushing it up for the insiders and so on to start selling and take advantage of basically the whole market situation, the oil situation, and so on and so on. So added some more right in here near $6, thinking, all right, now my average is near 765, 570-ish. I'm just gonna risk break even, right? So we got some moves here, but the thing is we started absorbing on the ask and so on. We got back to my average and I just sold it, right? Didn't want to really hold and hope. My plan was a curl back up for a nice move towards $8. We didn't see that. I exited right away, and as I told you, I didn't have any locates. But the thing to know is some brokers right in here, starting in here, had the locates. So the locates were available from here, and then we started, trapping some shorts into this range, which led to this move right here. So that really gave me some confidence as I saw the locates getting back, to a level where I thought we could really trap some shorts. The best thing is, locates pretty hard to get in the morning. We sell off, so the manipulators and so on, they sell, and then they make it available to push it back up. So that way they can sell in peace, and then they can push it up, with the locates and have those locates to trap and move it back up for them to sell later on the day or the next days if they decide to really push it. Now, YUMA, so that was a trade recap for YUMA, but the next thing you need to know is I am not sure that YUMA gave everything, I am not sure that this is done at all. Because the thing is, we're still, if you look at the bigger time frames, let's look at the 15-minute, for example, right? We are still holding, right? We are still holding the trend. We are over this resistance. We are putting in some higher lows. So as you can see, this kind of basis here and then here, and we could see some move back up. We still have to get over that 650 line, right? That's where we got some heaviness over it, and we couldn't hold over it at the open. So that will be the biggest test, I think, 650. But from there, we've got a pretty clear path towards $9. And I mean, on the daily, as you can see, we've got some resistance near 850-ish, and after that, we've got pretty much nothing until 14. So that's what I'm going to be looking at. I'm going to try to join the trend. And my mind is pretty clear. I'm not going to be stubborn with this one. If it wants to absolutely dump, so open at $4, I'm just going to miss it. I don't care about missing the trade because the trade for me isn't there until that structure changes. So until then, I'm going to have a pretty open mind looking for a long, but what I want to see is really that they give more locates to the traders because I want really the shorts to get in. I want shorts to think it's the same run as the previous ones, but on the next run, I want to have the locates available the whole day, moving down in the morning to really trap the shorts and then push it, but this time really push it. So that's going to be the plan. Now the second ticker was SAEX. We had a couple of tickers move with the oil sector. This one moved with it as well. Let's talk about GBR for a second. So GBR was the other stock moving pre-market, but what I didn't like was we had some, wacky volume. We had some pretty drastic moves out of nowhere, and at the open I was watching it, and I didn't really see what I wanted to see. So no big volume, and we weren't really, trading organically for me, not organically at all. So this one didn't trade it, and as you can see, kind of reclaimed into the close, and we didn't have any dilution on GBR. SAEX on the other side had dilution, right? We've got some warrants from series A, B, C, D, and E, and I was watching it. So this one wasn't on my radar at first, meaning not at the open, because it didn't really gap up, right? We got to move from 195 to 220, so nothing drastic. It's not on the top of my list. But what really got it going is pretty much this move out of the open, and got some nice volume, right? Nothing huge like 150,000, but some candles, some nice volume moving up. Regarding that, nothing like millions, because we didn't trade much during the pre-market. Not a lot of eyes on it, but we got some chat rooms kind of pushing it here. And what I was thinking is if the volume starts fading, we're going to have a lot of longs that are back from chat rooms and so on, kind of selling during the day. So right away, saw the move towards 280, saw some exhaustion, you know, topping tails the whole time. So I started shorting at 270, right? 272 was my average. Right away, got the slam back down. Waited for a second to see if VWAP would hold. We couldn't hold at all. I was thinking, all right, if we kind of start popping again towards 270, I'm just gonna short some more and you know, recycle the whole time. But we got the move, crashed back down towards the open. That was good enough for me. You know, we just moved from 220 to 280, and we moved back down right away within 3 candles to 230. So again, crashed down, hit my hotkey, got out everything I could here. We got an instant pop to VWAP and just over, and after that I wanted basically to show you. So my stop previously was in here, alright, so at the high of day, and right away moved my stop to the top of this candle. Here's a new structure, alright, we just rejected that level, shorted some more in here, we got the instant flush back to the open, found some bids, so I saw some bids at 222, hit my hotkey again for providing liquidity, covered everything I could, and after that, same thing again, I'm looking for the next pop towards the next structure, now that we rejected the VWAP area for the second time, so once over and once under, I'm thinking, all right, looking for the next structure area, so the previous support becomes resistance in here. I'm thinking we will retest probably that kind of open area, right? So got the move back to 235. I was thinking, all right, maybe a 240 pop would be nice, but instant stuff. So I started shorting some more in here, getting basically back in what I covered right here. And then we got the move back down towards the support. But I'm thinking still, all right, this might just take some time, you know, trap over the resistance this time, because every time we failed, all right, so we tried, failed, tried, failed, tried, failed. So I'm thinking, all right, this is now done, you know, we're starting to see some lower volume on the selling side. So I covered everything I could here, got a partial this time, and from there on tried building a position for, you know, some kind of trap, some kind of move up, and then, you know, a move back down. So some kind of one move, pull back, some bigger move, pull back. So in this case, we got the pop towards 240 right in here, started shorting some more, and again, we saw some bigger asks were in here, absorbing on the ask, so I'm shorting pretty much every single pop, waiting for the biggest pop to add some size, and as you can see, we start moving back down, putting in some kind of, you know, higher lows around this area right here. So as you can see, we're moving up, up, up. So I'm at this time right here, as we start, you know, supporting that trend line, I'm thinking, all right, maybe we will head a bit higher. I add some more right at 240 here, and we get the pop over 250. Everyone is kind of chasing because of YUMA and so on, and about the whole oil thing, but they're chasing something that has dilution. It's not the same thing, right? We saw the same thing during the shipper mania. We saw the same thing during the Bitcoin mania, the crypto mania. I remember all the things, right? But the Ebola thing, and so on and so on. So we've got some sector hype, and everyone thinking, right, it's the same thing. So shorted some more in here. I got a partial fill at 252, and from there, basically breakdown right away. So had it right here. My stop was 260 over that resistance, and instant stuff, move back down, and I'm watching pretty much the morning level, the morning supports right in here, and we move back down, I'm seeing some asks come down, we break under 220, but right away I know, all right, I want to cover this, the volume is, so I start covering, got the bottom tick, everything I could, and then the rest basically at 220 before it starts. And that's it for today. Hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.